feature for the new issue. Today we have with us Anwesh, and it's such a huge honor for us to have you here, Anwesh. Literally everybody on our team is such a huge fan of yours, and it's such a huge moment for Empower to have you on board. So I hope you're happy to be here as well. Literally everybody on our team is such a huge fan of yours, and it's such a huge moment for Empower to have you on board. So I hope you're happy to be here as well. Let me just introduce Anwesh to the audience in case you don't know who he is. He was crowned the Mr. Gay World India in 2016. He's also the founder and creator of the FMNR, and currently he's working as a senior tech artist at Aristocrat Gaming. Anwesh, it's so great to have you on board today.
Thank you so much. So many wonderful things have been said about me. I just want to make sure I didn't pay Shweta to say all those nice things. Thank you so much. This is such an honor to be a part of this magazine. I think I got in a conversation with Bhagyashree, and I loved what Empower is doing. I love the fact that there are so many young folks who are making time to come together and create a platform where everybody feels like they belong, to create a channel of a conversation, which is extremely important. And I'm so glad that you were able to do it amidst all this noise that's happening on the internet. I think the internet has changed so much since I started blogging on this space. So I'm very glad that there are newer, younger folks who want to do something that is more meaningful and still have a viable conversation, which is very difficult these days to have, I think, on the internet.
Thank you so much. So our first question for you today is about your experience being gay in India, because I think, especially like you spoke about in the internet, it's seen a lot as though there's only bad things when it comes to being queer here and no good things at all. So what are your opinions on that through your lived experiences?
I think it's extremely, first of all, important to understand that queer existence right now on the internet creates this illusion that everything is, hunky-dory, everything is great. And I was in fact having a conversation, something around this, with one of my colleagues yesterday, because, they were at Pride this year in Delhi. And, they were all, they said, oh my God, look at how everything is changing. It's so amazing. So many people came and joined in, and I did not expect so many people to come in. And I was like, that's a good thing, but in a city of like 1 crore people, if 5,000 people also don't come, then there is something very problematic. And at this point in time, a lot of the people who joined were also, allies, which is a great thing. But I think there are so many complexities associated with being queer and having someone who is queer, that it's very different than just joining a pride parade. It's a good thing that people are coming and joining parades. That's a really good move, right direction. We're going in the right direction, but it's in reality there is so much that needs to be done. And I have been creating art on the internet for the last 10 years, actually, for almost as long as Instagram has been here, because I was, I think, 13 when Instagram, popped up on the internet, and 13 or 14, and it's been like, I have basically, it was like a refuge for me to create work that represented me, to create work where I feel like, okay, this is really interesting space where I can go and find other queer artists who are creating work, and let me start creating work here as well. And it was a lot different back then, internet, especially in India, because the reach was much lesser. And right now with the internet boom, like everybody has access to it. So the way internet moves right now, the way content is being created and accepted and consumed on the internet has definitely changed a lot. So yeah, I think I just feel that excuse me, the acceptance is there, but I do believe that in the real sense, we really have a long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see what you're talking about. Like, I mean, I think I have been privileged enough that I've been surrounded by very accepting people, but at the same time, I've heard so many stories that every day I feel like we see stories on the internet of people who are literally just trying to get out of the situation they're in because it's so toxic and so negative towards that. And like you said, I guess there have been so many pros. Like, growth is there, but there's still, like, comparing some other places and other countries in the world, there's still a long, long way for us to go. So another thing we wanted to know is what your experience participating in Mr. Gay World was like. That's obviously not something that everybody does, and must be such an interesting experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm so grateful till date for the opportunity that I had of representing India at such a young age. I think I grew up, watching a lot of pageants on television, and I wanted to be Miss India. And when by the time I was 18, I realized I can't be Miss India, but at least I could participate in a pageant where I can at least represent my cause and represent something that was meaningful. And that's really what got me hooked on to Mr. Gay World. I saw Andrew Sterleth, who's now a good friend of mine. He was Mr. Gay World 2012 from New Zealand, and when I saw him and the way he was so just honest about the cause, I really appreciated that in him. And I was like, you know what, I want to be just like him. And I participated in the pageant, the Indian pageant, won it, and then when I realized that I have to go for Mr. Gay World, it was it was honestly a lot of work before you actually get into the pageant. I think people don't realize how intense the entire time is, because it's literally like participating in Olympics. It's because you are trying the most that you can do in that limited amount of time to prepare yourself, to get your body ready, to get your mind ready. And I was in college when I did that. I was a third year engineering student, so I took some time off college, which was really which was difficult, but it was also like, I'm so grateful that my college let me do that. They were like, okay, it's okay, just go ahead and participate. I was still giving exams at that point in time, so I was still going to classes, and I would come back and I would prepare. I would go to the gym. I would have sessions with Sushant, who's the national producer for Mr. Gay India. And yeah, it was honestly a very, very difficult time for me, because I was very new to this entire world of showbiz overall. And I think people don't realize how different showbiz is from reality. It's a very, very complex space to navigate as well. And I'm just glad I had like really good people who supported me, who gave me the confidence that I needed at that point in time. So yeah, I just went ahead with it. I really pushed myself through the entire journey of preparing myself for Mr. Gay World, which was way more intense and way more important for me. And at Mr. Gay World, it was really an incredible experience for me, especially because I was traveling abroad, for the first time. Actually, I had never been to anywhere in the world before that. So that was my first time traveling to Malta, which is a little island country in Europe, and it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. And that was where actually a lot of the King's Landing was also shot from Game of Thrones, in case you've watched Game of Thrones. But so I was like, wow, this is amazing, great. And met a lot of incredible people from around the world, incredible, strong gay men who, fought a lot to be there as well. I think everybody was basically the best in their respective countries. So yeah, it's an interesting experience where you are a 20-year-old who's grown up in India, and then all of a sudden you're in a world where everybody's gay, and you're surrounded, you're put into this room with just gay people, and it's quite amazing. But I think it can also be a little it can also be a little toxic, if I may say so, because it's a competition and everybody's there to win. So it's not everything is just amazing. Oh my god. It's a mix of things, and yeah, I just made the most of whatever I had, available to me, the resources.
That sounds like a great experience to have. And another thing we wanted to ask you about today is the FMLR. So if you can tell our audience a little bit about what it is, and also tell us how you got started in blogging or writing, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So basically, it all started when I was 18, and I realized that I wanted to create like I just wanted to write on the internet because blogging was a really big thing at that point. I think blogging has completely gone at this point, which is extremely sad, and everything has become video content, and uh, and I do believe that that has a lot to do with the way people consume content as well. I think people want to specifically consume visual content because it's just easy to just consume all that, and written content is just time consuming for a lot of people to read. But yeah, I basically started writing because I felt like there was not enough healthy representation of queer people like me on the internet, and younger queer folks especially, they were not writing about their stories, they were not writing about the coming out. There was not enough relatable content for people to connect to, and I was like, you know what, I can't wait for Bollywood to do it for me. And that at that point, you basically sort of you wanted popular media to do it for you, but that wasn't happening here in India. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to start writing about my experiences. And I think I was not the only one. I think there were another couple of a very few of them, I think one or two more people who were writing about queer experiences of younger gay people. And yeah, I just continued writing more and more, and then it just became like a thing. And of course called it the effeminate because I grew up being an effeminate gay boy, and I wanted to take the stigma away and the negativity away from the word effeminacy. Because being effeminate or being feminine is not a euphemism for indignity. It's being feminine, being effeminate, or effeminacy as a concept is a beautiful thing, and I think it needs to be celebrated in popular culture. So I was like, if I name myself the feminine and I create a lot of art around that, it's going to be amazing, it's going to be great, it's going to be killer. And yeah, that's how it just came together. And then of course eventually, because as content started becoming more and more visual, and I am an artist, so I moved away from writing my stories to creating just visuals around it. And now it's a lot of my work is just creating cyber fashion and creating all these avant-garde outfits on my body.
So you spoke about cyber fashion, and that's kind of what I wanted to ask about next as well. So how did you get started with this idea? Because I think a lot of people stick to like conventional fashion, but what you're doing is very unique and different. So how did it start, and what's your inspiration behind it?
Yeah. Yeah, of course, I would love to talk about it because I thoroughly enjoy this, this almost medium of communicating what's all this is going on inside my head in the form of an outfit on my body. And it all started during the pandemic actually, because I had a lot of pictures of myself which was shot by a photographer just prior to the beginning of the pandemic in Bangalore. I was working for another firm and I was modeling for them, and I had all these pictures and I was just looking at them and I was like, because I had also created like similar black and white imagery of my body, which was shot earlier by another photographer of mine here in Delhi. And I had all these pictures and I created like these really me in like a very dark setup. And the reason I had done that was because I was called ugly for being dark when I had won Miss Gay India, and I wanted to bring in that representation of gay men as brown, sexy and gorgeous via my pictures. And they did really well. They were received very well. So I was like, I wanted to revamp that idea that I had done back in 2016 again in 2020. And when I put all of these elements together, and I started realizing that I can actually create a lot of, because these are all pictures of me in an underwear, and I was like, I can create outfits on my body. And I think I've because I have been an illustrator, I have been a fashion illustrator in the past. I wanted to create something unique on my body, which I don't get to wear, which is also like not expensive because digital art is just it's in a way it's an inexpensive way of creating these beautiful outfits. So yeah, I started creating all these, sketching all these ideas together. And when I finally saw like my first cyber fashion piece, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I think it was the strawberry outfit. Remember the strawberry outfit, which was really, really like viral at one point? There was a beautiful pink dress which had become very popular. So I took that inspiration from there and created this outfit on my body. And I was like, this is amazing, this is fantastic, let me just create more and more of it. So I started drawing more and more ideas, all these ideas that, I mean, I'm always filled with ideas, and anything that I see around me inspires me to create something new. And this was a very interesting, sort of combination of these two different, extreme ideas coming together into this one, massive pot of beautiful outfits. So yeah, that's how I got started into it. And then I later realized that there's actually a term for it as well, and it's called cyber fashion, because I saw a lot of queer artists were creating imageries like this abroad as well. So yeah, I mean, it's just, I kept doing more and more of it, and I think I'm actually planning on sketching something today as well. So I'm really excited for it, and I think you will get to see a little bit of that on Empower Magazine's cover as well very soon.
That's great. I'm very excited to see what you come up with as well. All right. So the next segment we have of our interviews is a little rapid fire round, so that we can get to know a little bit more about you, and you can have some fun here as well. So I'll just spew some questions, and you give me whatever answer comes to your mind. Does that sound good?
Sure. Let's go ahead.
Okay. So the first question I have for you today is your favorite book of all time.
Oh my God, that's a difficult question because there are so many. I think it'll be because I grew up reading a lot of Sudha Murthy's books. So I would probably say Gently Falls the Bakula by Sudha Murthy, because I feel like there is a certain element of simplicity to that book. And it also, at that point in time, it really basically inspired me to do like really big things. And I really liked the world that she created as well. It was a world that I really felt like was so beautiful, but was so simple. And I wanted that world to be my world. So it will always and forever be Sudha Murthy winning that race in my head.
That's great. I have read that book too, and I do like it quite a lot. The next question we have for you is, what is your favorite song right now?
My favorite song right now, oh my God. Honestly, I love that song Jia from Gunde. It's just, I think Vishal and Shekhar have given the music for that song, if I'm not wrong. But I love Vishal Shekhar's music from, the 2005, 2006, 2007. Like that was their like peak era. I feel like they've given such great music. I listen to that song on loop on Spotify. So yeah.
That's great. The next question is, what is one thing in your daily life that you cannot live without?
Oh my God, there are way too many things. But I think, like, it depends if I'm going out or if I'm working from home.
Okay, you can
But I
give
think
me
I
an answer
cannot.
for both.
Yeah, I think let's do it that way. I think if I'm home, I definitely cannot do without my iPad, because that's literally like my lifeline. Like, it's my superpower. My stylus is my superpower. I create a lot of art, so I'm always creating something. So I definitely cannot. In fact, anytime I go, anywhere I go, no matter what, I always carry my little iPad with me so that I can just quickly sketch ideas or whatever I have. And when I'm out, I cannot live without my I have a little makeup kit that I have. Actually, have a little bag, like a little fanny pack of mine, and I always have my lip balm and my my little rouge in it. So I just cannot, travel without that, because I feel like it just gives me that, it makes me meeting ready, it makes me ready for anything that I need to go to. I need to have those two little things in my little fanny pack.
Yeah, I think I can definitely relate with the lip balm one as well. All right. So, do you have a queer icon? And if yes, who would you say it is?
So many, to be honest. But I think Freddie Mercury, like forever. I'm obsessed with him. I'm obsessed with his art. I'm obsessed with the incredible work that he's done. So hot. Oh my God, like how can we forget that? And I think he was one of the first few people that I read so much about when I came out. And his life story was also made into a movie with Bohemian Rhapsody, and I was like, everything that was being shown on that in that film, I was like, I've seen all of it because I had seen virtually every documentary that there is of Freddie Mercury. I've watched it, and I love his candor. I love the fact that he's so brave about his lifestyle, about the way people, because there's been a lot of mudslinging in his life as well on his walk, and I can relate to that in an incredible way. So I think he'll forever be my icon.
Okay, so the next question we have is, what is your comfort food?
I don't have any, to be honest,
Really?
because I don't find comfort in food at all.
That's interesting. I think you're the first person ever who's told me that they do not have a comfort food. So what do you find comfort in then? Like, what's your most comforting thing?
Honestly, every time I'm low, I would watch like drag race content. I love watching drag race. I think I'm huge on drag queens. I really like the way they almost channel their trauma in this beautiful form of art. So yeah, I'm just not a foodie. I like having food, but I'm just like I've had this discussion previously with my sister as well, because she loves having food and she's really big on it. And yeah, but I think somehow I've in fact have had a very complex relationship with food. Like growing up, I didn't like eating at all. It was the most difficult thing of my life. And I think as I grew up, of course, as I started adulting, I was like, okay, food is really important and all that. But I mean, I would never look at food as something that would help me find comfort in any way.
That makes sense. All right. So the next question we have is, like, what is a quote or some words that you try to live by?
There are a couple of them actually, but I think there was this one quote in one of Robin Sharma's book, and I've quoted it many times. There's this infinite potential within the fortress of your minds. Dare to tap into your greatness. It is your birthright. That is the one quote that I continue to live by even today. I think I do believe that there is so much potential within all of us, and it just needs to be channelized. We have to be that one leader who's able to bring out the best in us into the universe. So I try to do that each day.
I think that's a really inspiring quote too. All right, and the last rapid fire question for you today is, what is your favorite movie or TV show that has good queer representation in it?
Pose, hands down. I think in fact, I would say two shows, Queer as Folks from the 2000s, early 2000s, and Pose, because I feel like they have representation, but like two different kinds of representations. Queer as Folks was, representation of gay men specifically, and I think, have you watched Queer as Folks by any chance, by the way?
I have.
So it's a Canadian production, and it basically is a story of like a bunch of gay men who are sort of battling queerphobia, homophobia, and they're trying to create like a world where they feel like they belong. And but the show mostly is about gay men and their respective experiences, and of course there's a lesbian couple also in the film, and in the show. And then there is Pose, which I just believe is one of the greatest piece of queer representation that we have right now on television. And I would love for the show to probably come back. I don't know if it'll ever come back, but yeah, I think Pose, and yes, Sex Education as well. So 3 shows. Sex Education is like fantastic, and I don't think I can choose between any of these 3, because I feel like all 3 of them have different kinds of representations, and all 3 of them are like equally important.
Sex Education is one of my favorite shows as well, so I was so glad you brought that up. But thank you so much for these honest answers for the rapid fire questions. The last thing we want to ask you today is if you have any advice for young people who are struggling with their identities or are scared of how they're feeling.
You know what? I think I would probably ask every queer person to be their own reference points, because I feel like there is a lot of fight to find your reference points, and because I grew up with that sort of in my head as well, okay, where is my reference point, but I think it's, and we start copying almost the other person in some ways, which in some ways can be good as well. I mean, if you like a role model, we all have different role models, and we try and emulate what they've done, the greatest things that they have done, we try to emulate that, right? So, and I am that person as well. I am that person who wanted to have like multiple reference points and be like, okay, because I remember looking at Priyanka Chopra's interview from like 2015 or 2014, and I'd be like, I want to be like Priyanka Chopra, and I am going to sign up for like a pageant, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and then I realized, what, I think, but her story is her story, my story is mine, and it's going to be different. So yeah, I think try and be your reference point, and when you think yourself as the reference point, then you're going to do everything that is aligned with your conscience, and you're going to try and achieve your fullest potential, which exactly should be our goal. We're all different as queer people, specifically, and we all have our own individual contributions to be made to the universe. So try and really like push yourself to create like really amazing work in whatever field you're in, and try to create more opportunities for more queer people. Try and work together with more queer people. I think there's I come across a lot of queer people online who are just not nice to talk to, or just are just too like high-headed. I think that needs to go. Like, you cannot, at least amongst the queer community, you should never have that sense of okay, I'm better than you. Just work together. Otherwise, it's already a lost fight. It's already a lost race.
Thank you so much for these words. I'm sure that you're an inspiration to so many of us, and I'm sure these words are going to help somebody out there. To the audience, those who stuck till the end, thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview, and Anwesh, I really hope you enjoyed this interview as well. Thank you so much again for doing this.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a delight speaking to you, and I hope we can meet in person soon as well someday. Yeah.